Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. If you like that. Anyway, it is your latest Manchester United transfer news as mind games begin. Is Garnacho and Rashford now staying? Rashford back in training, but so is Garnacho and Anthony. Could they all stay at Manchester United and would they be like new signings? We'll have the latest on that and why Ineos actually aren't acting surprisingly on any of these deals when we consider how they've been next to useless in the transfer market so far. Why would they not be next to the useless when dealing with these players? So we'll talk about that. Also, a few other bits to get into as well. But let's hit some breaking news, actually. It's just come in from Fabrizio Romano in the last few moments. And basically what he's saying is that Garnacho to Chelsea is a concrete possibility. I mean, I feel like the bearer of bad news. You know what I would do? I wouldn't be doing this deal. You know, you look at where Garnacho is after the last 2-3 years, and you think about where he'll be in the next 2-3 years if he develops like he has in the last 2 to 3 years. At 23, God knows what he could be. But it ain't me doing this deal. But it is me delivering this news. And Garnacho to Chelsea is a concrete possibility, according to Fabrizio Romano. Chelsea are really considering making a bid. Value is 60 million now, coming down again. Chelsea could make a bid in the next hours or days. Let's see. I mean, that is really interesting because the story I was going to lead on was from Marzio that Napoli, because of the hold-up in negotiations with Man United and Garnacho, they've gone for Adeyemi now of Dortmund. So I was going to say, look, that is just classic. We're doing it with Dorgu. We've been linked to Alvaro Fernandez. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about in a bit. This is just classic mind games, and I'll always applaud it. If you're trying to get a player and you start talking to another player, and the player that you're trying to get has a club that's desperate, you end up getting the player you wanted in the first place for a cheaper price. For example, Man United are desperate to get money, and the only player they can get money for on January the 22nd is Garnacho. I think this is something very important as well. We need to sell to buy, and the only player in our entire squad that anybody wants to buy, whether, you know, Casemiro, Rashford, Rasmus, Bruno, there is nobody else that anybody wants to put a bid in for apart from Garnacho. So United have to do that deal because we're a selling club now. Napoli know that. Napoli want him on the cheap. Man United are saying, no, we don't need to do this deal. Napoli know we do. Napoli start talking to Adeyemi. Man United panic and do the cheap deal. It's mind games. And that's what I was going to sort of start off with that Marzio story. I don't think Napoli really are looking at Adeyemi. I just think they're saying to Man United, we've got options. But this story coming out about Chelsea could be Man United playing mind games the other way, saying Chelsea are interested. Because I don't think we sell to Chelsea. So I think we've got mind games going on here. I think we've got Napoli, Adeyemi. And I've said this about Marzio before. Marzio isn't not known for being accurate, but he isn't not known for doing agents and clubs works in Italy. And I think that this is simply a tactic to make Man United sell Garnacho to Napoli quickly. I think Man United might be using Chelsea for the other reason. So that's my reading of it. I don't think Chelsea are genuinely in for him. And also, I don't know what the relationship is between Marzio and Romano, but I have started to notice that whilst Romano and Ornstein always follow each other, Marzio and Romano don't always agree. And whilst it's Man United versus Napoli in a transfer for Garnacho, it could well be that Romano is helping United out with the Chelsea story and Marzio is helping Napoli out with the Adeyemi story. So we could have a little bit of mind games going on here because I don't for 1 minute think that Man United would sell to Chelsea, and I certainly don't think we'd be selling him for 60 million because we would never move past that headline if he ends up being good, and we would never move past the headline that we paid the same for Mason Mount. So it won't. That won't happen. I think this is all mind games for Napoli. But I did get a message, and I wish I could remember who it was from. They'll know who it was. Apologies. They said to me today that, do you think that this Garnacho thing might just be a front for Manchester United spending no money? And then at the end of the window, They keep Garnacho, and it's like, we kept Garnacho, it's like a new signing. But this is the danger that I think we're all in now, isn't it? Because there is no trust, because there is no understanding and communication, minds can wander into conspiracy. So you could have a scenario where you're thinking, we won't even sell Garnacho, it's just making us think we might, so that when we keep him at the end of the window, we're relieved and we forget that we didn't buy anybody. I don't think that. I don't think that's what's happening. I genuinely think Garnacho's going to go. What I would say is he might be playing tomorrow night. Remember I said there's no way he'll be playing tomorrow night because he's going to leave. I think he might play tomorrow night because Garnacho, it's not Amorim that wants him to leave. Like, Amorim's not picked Rashford because he wants him out. He's kept picking Garnacho even though Garnacho might leave. Now that's really risky for a manager because if they get injured, they can't be sold. Which is why he won't really pick Casemiro and Rashford, because he doesn't want to injure players that he desperately wants rid of. But with Garnacho, he's always picked him. Now, this exit for Garnacho is very, very close. And my assumption was that he wouldn't be playing tomorrow. We're now hearing he might play, which is, again, another thing of Amorim saying, I don't really want him to go. If you sell him, but I don't really want him to go. So it'll be interesting. He might even play tomorrow. Which is an injury risk, isn't it, if he's up for sale? So that's where we are with Garnacho. Mind games, I would say. If Ineos is so broke, why don't we go for the cheaper option in Alvaro instead of overspending for Dorgu? Is there an issue we don't know about, says Andre. The owners lost my trust when they sold Fellaini, says Ben L. And Telegraph have done an underbelt article on Amorim saying he needs therapy. British media are a bunch of prats. I don't know whether that's true. If it is, Shaunak, you know, wind me up and I'll go mad. So, you know, if anyone knows that's true and they've got quotes, this is the place. Great community, and you know what? It's growing all the time, and your comments in the last few days have been brilliant. Obviously, I am just the instrument. Play me. You know, if you find the stuff that we're not talking about, bring it into the show and we'll bring it into the limelight. Every club wants to stagger transfer fees, so we probably only get 15 million up front for Garnacho. We have no actual cash because of debt, so we'd still have very little cash to spend, even if FFP allows it, says Tom Acton. Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate your super chat. On the Dorgu situation then, Manchester United, effectively, I think where we are with Dorgu is that a lot of people are dismissing him. I really like the player, not just because I bought him in my career mode and, you know, I'm a hipster, but I like the player. I like the balance of the player, a quick player, a young player, a left-footed player, lots of potential. I like the potential. I like the player. I like the signing. I've got nothing against Dorgu, and I was actually quite excited about it. What I don't like is the price. I really don't like the price, and apparently he wants to come to United. It's his dream move. Apparently Amorim really wants him because he can't get Mendes now. In some ways, he might end up being better than Mendes because Mendes is quite injury prone. But anyway, that's a bit of a stretch. I like the idea of the signing. Lecce have seen dollar signs or euro signs and are playing as like every other bloody club does. They want realistic. They want stupid money. Man United are trying to be realistic and keep it down to around 20 million. They want to go up north to 40 million. So that's where we are with Dorgu at the moment. Fabrizio did mention other options, and he mentioned Alvaro Fernandez. Look, Fabrizio and Ornstein are A-star Man United journalists, but I am starting to think, how much are United using Fabrizio for their own benefit? Like this Chelsea story, I don't believe Man United would ever sell him to Chelsea. I think that story's there to make Napoli think. And you know what? I think Fabrizio talking about Alvaro Fernandez is there to make Lecce think. And I'm just starting to think, you know, Fabrizio and David Ornstein always get the exclusive from United. Is there some sort of, you know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours? Because it feels like that at the moment. That Chelsea story just doesn't... I never say never with Ineos because I don't know what they do. But they could sell him to Chelsea. It'd be incredible if they did. But I actually think it's just to get Napoli to panic. And this Alvaro Fernandez story and other options, Kirkes, how many times has Fabrizio mentioned Kirkes in the last 2 weeks as still being an option? And yet we don't have £50 million. I think sometimes we communicate, we talk, we discuss, and you realise Kirkes is not an option. He is not an alternative to Dorgu. Dorgu is 20 and cheaper. Kirkez is Premier League ready and 50 million quid. He is not an alternative. Neither is Anthony Robinson. So is Fabrizio sort of helping United out a little bit with, yeah, United have got alternatives? Because Alvaro Fernandez, if he was genuinely an alternative, we wouldn't even be talking to Dorgu. 18 million to bring him back, and we wouldn't even talk to Dorgu. So I don't think we're in for Alvaro Fernandez either. I think again, mind games to get Lecce to panic. And I know I'm telling Lecce that, but we don't get information from the club. We're not being briefed to help the club. If they sent a WhatsApp and said, if you say this, Lecce will lower their price, I probably would do it. I probably would. Why wouldn't I do it? If somebody said to me at Man United, if you say you've had exclusive news that we're going to bid for Kirkez and Bournemouth are interested, Lecce will drop their price and they'll get him, it helps Man United, doesn't it? But we don't get any of that. So we can only assess the situation as we see it. And I think Dorgu is the priority, but the price is an issue. So that's why I think we're being linked with Alvaro Fernandez, because I don't really understand why we're not going for Alvaro Fernandez. Maybe one of you can explain it, but I get the feeling that for whatever reason, he doesn't want to come back or we don't want him. Somebody said at lunchtime, maybe it's because we know he's going to get sold in the near future for a lot of money and we'll get a percentage of that, and we'd rather have a bit of money than a player. If Garnacho stays, does that rule out Dorgu, says James? Well, I don't know. I don't know, because yes, I think it does, because we have to sell to buy. I mean, if Casemiro went, we're short in the midfield, but you could get a left back. I mean, we don't talk about Casemiro enough. We really, really don't. It's possible that United sold the rebuy clause to Benfica in exchange for cash earlier, says Perk. And James English, thank you for that. I'd rather sell Rashford for 30 million than Garnacho for 50, says Mazza. And Dane Jane Official, hello, says, it's scary to think Garnacho won't be our player next week. Can't believe Ineos are offloading our young talent rather than getting rid of the players rotting on the bench that are bleeding us dry. I'll make a prediction on Garnacho, one way or another. In 2 years' time, we'll regret this. I'm absolutely convinced of that talent. And, it's got nothing to do with Ineos. I've been saying it to you for 2 years now. I'm absolutely convinced. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. When they bought Van Dijk, I said Liverpool had bought the Chris Dutch Smalling. The Chris Dutch Smalling. The Chris Dutch Smalling. The Dutch Chris Smalling. But I'm absolutely convinced. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but I'm absolutely convinced. What are Lecce thinking if they get relegated, even if they keep Dorgu? What will he be worth then? Seems risky, says Jesse. Well, the interesting thing about Lecce is that they're already speaking to a Portuguese under-21 left-back. They're close to signing him. So I think we'll end up with Dorgu. I think we'll end up with him. Thank you very much for that. Right, let's talk about Rashi, says Ronnie. So, Marcus Rashford, open training session today. Smiley, happy, at open training with the team. He was back. I've got to say, Amorim did not look very happy looking at all the players. He looked absolutely fuming, but he's back in training. Now, does that mean that Marcus Rashford will be back playing for Manchester United? What we're hearing is that it's very unlikely that he'll be involved tomorrow against the for Rangers. Nothing has massively changed from either camp. It was described to me as like Sancho last year. And remember, we said this about Sancho when he came back, and a lot of people didn't want to listen. Remember when Sancho came back training with Ten Hag and everyone was like, oh my God, he's back. What did we say? We said that could easily be PR. It's in the interests of the club and Sancho to look happy and work together to get a move. Because if you're unhappy, then people aren't going to be interested. So Man United might be following a very similar path to Sancho here, where player, manager and club build a relationship to get what they want. It didn't end up with Sancho staying, and it won't necessarily end up with Rashford staying. So I understand what that's all about. But effectively, Rashford still wants out, Amorim still wants him out, and the club want rid of him as well. So that's where we are. It's just, at the moment, he's back in training. So playing tomorrow, highly unlikely for multiple reasons. Rashford could still leave. Man United won't want him to get injured. All sorts of reasons. So unlikely to be involved tomorrow. But Fulham on Sunday, you don't know. You don't know, especially if Garnacho gets sold. You don't know if there's a pathway back. Anthony hasn't gone yet. He was in training today. Is Rashford likely to wear a Man United shirt again? Never say never. It shouldn't happen under Amorim. It shouldn't happen. He looks ridiculously weak if he does pick Rashford because he's the one who's backing down. But if he's here on February the 1st, it's hard not to see him being in a Man United shirt again. What the reaction to that would be, there are people out there who still retain, love and support for Rashford. There are people out there who really want him to go. I think what it would do is forgetting Amorim, forgetting the fans, forgetting Rashford. If he did stay, nobody can argue that it keeps a toxic environment at the club for the next few months, because every question in the press conference, every camera, every game is on Rashford. And that's not something that's conducive to rebuilding a football club. So I think that would be the problem. Why is he back in training? Well, honestly, this is just pure opinion, but he's a Manchester United player who can't very well stay at home. He has to train with the club that pays him. Whether United want him to or not, he has to. So that's why he's training. And you can't sit there on one hand and say Ineos are absolutely useless in this transfer window, and then on the other hand say, why haven't Ineos got rid of Rashford? They don't work, do they? If you're useless, then that's why they've not got rid of Rashford. So the power remains with the person that's always had the power, Marcus Rashford. Now, whether the team around him have done a good job or not, I don't know. But I don't blame Rashford being back in training with a smile on his face, because what else is he supposed to do? He's been at the club since he was a kid. He has to train. This issue is with the club and his agency. And they've got to find a solution. They've probably messed up a couple of solutions. I think AC Milan was a very good option. For me, playing football for 6 months was the key. Now, obviously, you're not going to go to Saudi. You probably don't want to go to Turkey. But AC Milan, come on. You had an opportunity to go and play football, and you've held out for something. Now, if he ends up with Barcelona, great. But if he ends up with nothing, it's a mistake, isn't it? I don't think he'll end up at Dortmund because of Erik ten Hag. John says, I'll say it again. If Rashford plays for Man United again, you may as well sack the manager. Everyone know who has the power. Well, I mean, you're not going to sack the manager, but I do understand the sentiment. It does make him look very, very weak. Lecce want to hold on to their young talent or get an exorbitant fee, while the biggest club in the world wants to discount sell their biggest talent. I love this from Mo. There is a massive, massive contradiction going on here with the Dorgu and Garnacho story. You've got a small club overinflating the price of a young potential talent that they don't want to lose. And then you've got a big club who want to sell a young talent with big potential cheap. Mo, it's not lost on me, and I don't think it's lost on anybody else. The contradiction between these two clubs dealing with each other, it's almost like unbelievable. It's like, they're doing exactly the opposite to us, and we're still going to do it. It's literally staring you in the face how you deal with selling young potential talent, and we're doing the opposite. Did you see Glazers want to stop United and the Buccaneers from linking up because they don't want the squad to see the difference in facilities? Disgusting, says Sean. I did read it, but come on. I can do a Google search on... sometimes I think we're better than that. I think this community is a lot better than that. We have deeper conversations, and we ridicule the mainstream for how basic they can be. Look, check out the video at lunchtime reacting to Amorim's press conference. Paid journalists, paid by who? Paid journalists asking the same question 3 times. Madness. But I don't really get this story that the Glazers are trying to keep Man United players away from Tampa and the Buccaneers so that they don't see the facilities. Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, Rasmus Højlund, just type in on Google, Tampa Bay Buccaneer facilities. All the pictures are there. So I think it's a bit of a silly story that the Glazers don't want them to go there to see the facilities. I can see the facilities in 3 seconds because they're all on bloody line anyway. So I think sometimes, some of these stories are a little bit silly. I think there's bigger things the Glazers have done that would bother me as a player. I mean, am I really going to be bothered about the facilities at Tampa Bay Buccaneers when I walk into Old Trafford and see what a shithole it's become because they've let it rust and rot? In your opinion, Avanash says, in your personal opinion, will you keep Garnacho or buy Dorgu based on the current events? I've answered this question before, Avanash, and I don't like not to answer that question because it's a fair question in the sense that you can ask it. But you know what my answer is. If my hands are tied behind my back and if I don't answer this question, something bad's going to happen, then I'm going to answer the question. But if I'm the owner of Man United, I get both. I keep Garnacho and I get Dorgu because I need a left back and I don't need to get a left back by selling a player that's part of the future. So I get both. I keep both. But if I had to make a choice between getting Dorgu and keeping Garnacho, it's a good question because we desperately need a left back. But on the other hand, Dorgu is going to be potential himself. So we desperately need a left back, but we shouldn't be selling young talent to get it. We shouldn't be a selling club, really. I haven't answered the question. I'd keep Garnacho. I think it's too important. I think, a left back's massively important, but the symbolisation of Manchester United becoming a selling club on the cheap of young players shits all over our history and what we're all about. So no, I wouldn't do it. What if we take a lower offer? Ash says, what if we are taking a lower overall fee because we aren't accepting staggered payment scheme for Garnacho, says Ash. I don't really care, mate. Whether they give us 60 million over 3 years or they give us 60 million now, it's still under price, and we better have double that in bonus payments coming in. I think this deal is going to be very interesting, and knowing how United have dealt under the Glazers, I wonder how much detail we'll actually get and how much of it will actually be true. We need to buy so that the cost goes up. We need to sell and the cost goes down. No win situation. Full sale was the only answer. All this hype around incomings just plays into the selling club's hands, says Double D. Yeah, this is a great point. This whole Dorgu deal has been messed up. It's a great point, and it's something we've mentioned for a long time. The Dorgu deal has been messed up. The fact that it hit the mainstream media and the fans before we'd even flown out to Italy is a joke. The way you do transfers is it doesn't hit the press. Because the minute it hits the press and everyone knows about it, the pressure's on and the price goes up. Liverpool are brilliant at this, and I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it, because what I suspect has happened is Man United have made contact with Dorgu, and someone from Dorgu's side has leaked it. Or Man United have made contact with Lecce, and Lecce have leaked it, because it's in their interest. But why is it when Liverpool do deals, it never leaks? And I just wonder if Liverpool approach a club and say, look, we want to do this deal, but if it hits the press, we walk. Because it's amazing how Liverpool don't get their transfers leaked until the day they do it. But Man United always do. And look, Liverpool always seem to do good deals as well. They never seem to get, done over. It does come down to competence, Matthew Gartell, yeah. It's possible that United sold the... I've done that one from Perk. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. If Rashford plays again, all respect for the manager will be lost, says Andreas. And we could just as well have kept Ten Hag. 7 losses and lost the dressing room. I mean, you make a good point, Andreas. If you bring Rashford back into the team or you bring Casemiro back into the team, the rest of the squad look at it and go, well, if he drops me, I'll be back at some point. So, yeah. There is more chance of Amorim leaving than us getting rid of Rashford this window. Nobody wants him, says SGS Automotive, Rogue Painter. Thank you very much, mate. And that, like Madrid selling Mbappe to sign Davies, says Mario Franco. And the only way to get rid of Glinios, says Desiree, is to do like Syria. Let Old Trafford empty for a big match versus City, for example, says Desiree. Mate, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm not afraid of saying it, and neither are you. If I had a button on this desk that I could press and nobody turns up for the Rangers game tomorrow, do I press it? Damn right. If I can press it for the next home game, would I press it? Damn right. 100%. Glazers and Ineos would be gone in no time. Or they'd be listening to fans in no time. You know, if you want a fan on the board of Man United, you'd get it. If you want them to start servicing the debt, you'd get it. If you want them to start spending money and stop selling young players, they'd stop it. But you can't do it. Nothing's impossible. Nothing's impossible. But, you know, you've got to do things to the owners that panic them. It's happened in other clubs. I mean, off the top of my head, I know it's happened in Argentina. I think it's happened in Italy. I think it's happened in Spain as well. But yeah, Michael Man United says, of course you'd press it because you don't go anyway. Literally went about 2 months ago, mate. Pictures with my son. Keep going. Forest fan next. Yeah? Good one, mate. 2025 and you're still cracking those jokes. Bloody hell. Anyway, back to reality and away from thick people. There are ways to get owners out of the football club, and the Glazers would and Sir Jim would panic very, very quickly if stadiums were even half empty. But you can't do it, and you can't ask people to do it, because people have been going to Old Trafford with season tickets for years. People go because their dad went or their mum went, and they feel like it's, you know, important to them. Tourists travel from the other side of the world, and every game there is a huge tourist attendance at Man United. Every Man United game, there'll be somebody there for their first time. Hundreds. You can't empty Old Trafford. And they know that. We're a victim of our success in many ways. If we were Swindon Town with local supporters, you could probably do it. But Man United are a global football club, and people travel from all over the world, and you can't empty Old Trafford, and they know it. They know it. So, you know, you look at all these protests. You look at everything that's been done. Not everybody attends those protests, do they? Because they can't reach everybody. There's a way to get the Glazers out. Everybody knows that way, but it involves uniting the fan base. That won't happen because certain groups are in contact and have relationships with the Glazers and Man United. They won't admit it publicly, but they do. And therefore, they can't be trusted. They'd probably play better with no fans, says Patrick Lynch. Yeah, we'd probably be helping the team, actually. You're right, Patrick. You are right. Garnacho better fulfill his potential, says Sulai. Why? So you want him to go somewhere else and fulfill his potential? There is more chance. I've done that one from SGS. Done that one as well. Thank you, Desiree. Barada has sold good young talents at City, and so has Wilcox with the right-back RB group. No, Wilcox hasn't worked with the RB group. It's for Val. Has Radcliffe brought them in so we can make profit off youth prodigies, says Jack. Naf says, Garner, Alanga, McTominay, Rashford. They wanted to sell him during the summer. Garnacho, if we're not careful, it will soon be Mainu and others. It's becoming a recurring theme. Meanwhile, Manchester United fans are fighting. I 100% agree with you, mate. I think Mainu in the summer makes sense. I don't want to do it, but it makes sense to prepare for that. I think the domino effect probably has already started. You're right. I think it did start with McTominay, really. And I think it will continue. Hi, Mark. How would you describe the Dorgu style? I know what you're trying to say there, doggy style. I doubt Amorim will tolerate this behaviour from Glinios. His growing frustration could force us to a situation where we're searching for a new manager. Oh, look, you know what, Kirill? I don't think it will happen. But if Amorim just said, this club is a joke, I love the fans, I love the club, but I can't work here, I need to leave for my own sanity, I'd be devastated. I'd be absolutely devastated. But I'd applaud him on the way out. I said the same about Ollie at times. I said the same about Ranić. I said the same about Ten Hag. There were times under all those managers where people spoke about them walking. Now, they never walk and they never will walk for different reasons. They care about the club. They care about their, pride, etc. Some of it's for money. He won't walk. But I don't think there's many people that if he was frustrated and walked would blame him. Mojo's got people laughing. I'm just grateful we've got Mojo back. Not seen him for a while. How you doing, Mojo? He says, which Manchester was Jim Radcliffe talking about when he said he wants to bring Manchester back to Manchester United? Right now, it feels like that Manchester town in New Hampshire in the US, says Mojo. Yeah, I don't know what he meant by putting the Manchester back into Manchester United, because even on a good level, it doesn't make any sense. Most of our fans aren't from Manchester, so I don't know what he meant by that. Most of our legendary players aren't from Manchester either. And also, Old Trafford's always been in Manchester, so I don't know. I actually, to this day, don't know what he meant by putting the Manchester back into Manchester United. But I certainly don't think... I mean, maybe he wants a team full of players from Manchester. That's why we're selling Garnacho. I don't know. Then again, he's just bought De Ligt, Mazraoui. Yeah, doesn't make sense either. Sell Garnacho to buy a left back, but when Garnacho replacement come from owners and board out, says Paul D. We could suspend games like the Liverpool one, says Enrique. I don't know. I mean, look, you shouldn't say Man United fans aren't capable of getting a game suspended, but I think that caught the club and the police and everybody by surprise. I don't think that would happen again. Never say never, but I don't think it would. Look, things move on. I don't think the appetite is there for whatever reason to do that sort of thing again. There was a lot of frustration and a lot of anger around that. I mean, it was hot on the heels of the Super League, wasn't it? I don't detect that there is that sort of behaviour now in our fan base, even though things might actually be more personally worse. The Super League involved every club. This is personal. Would they swap Garnacho for Osimhen, says Keel? Apparently that story is a load of shite. Apparently that's been discounted as pure fantasy and, not possible to do. Can't remember where I actually read it, but yeah, apparently it's a load of nonsense. I'll see if I can find it, because I read it somewhere today. Yeah, I think, I'm trying to think. I'm looking around. I think the swap deal defeats the purpose of FFP and PSR, doesn't it? If you sell Dalot for 30 million or Rashford for 30 million or Garnacho for 45 or whatever, or Mainu for 80, that's pure profit. So you can use that. If you sold Dalot for 40 million, that 40 million could be used in year one to buy two 80 million pound players with down payments of 20 million and 20 million in year one. So you could get two players in for that. You could get three 60 million pound players, etc. So I think the purpose of selling Garnacho is to get, well, the reason Man United want to sell someone is to get money in so that you can go and buy players. If you swap Garnacho for Osimhen, you still can't buy Dorgu because you haven't got the money. So, as much as a swap for Garnacho and Osimhen would arguably be good, I said that this morning, it's, they're about equal in value. It wouldn't enable Man United to sign Dorgu or anybody else because it's about the money. And I think that's a great point, I mean, Osimhen for Garnacho as a straight swap probably is not a bad idea. But again, the fact that we wouldn't do it shows you the root evil of all of this. They just want money. And it shows you why they're getting rid of Garnacho. I mean, Napoli might literally be saying, we'll swap Osimhen with you for Garnacho, and it's a good deal. But United will be going, no, we want money. All we want is money. And that's what it's all about, just getting money into the club to balance the books. As someone who lives a town over from Manchester, New Hampshire, please don't put that Manchester into Manchester United, Jim, says Jay. Amorim therapy comments are true by the Telegraph. I need to see this, Scottish United supporter there for every home game, but scared about Rangers tomorrow. Think it will definitely be a tough one. It'll be a battle. William Doyle. Hope you get the result you want. Would they also? Umzil says the therapy comments are true by Martin Rickett. Let me see if I can find this because I would love to see what it says. I've got a link here. Ruben Amorim needed therapy to control temper. I can't read it because why do people do this? Sign up to read this article for free? No. I don't know. Well, I don't know what the context is. I don't know whether it's like they're saying he should go for therapy or he's had therapy. But at the end of the day, it's derogatory to a manager, isn't it, when you're talking about whether he's had therapy or not? Because therapy has connotations of, needing help. And needing help to some people is seen as a weakness. So it's not good, is it? It's not good. But what do you expect? What do you expect? I don't get shocked. Whatever the connotations are, I don't get shocked because I said this. Many of you have said this as well. I know the cycle. These journalists aren't Man United fans. And even if they are, they're fans of what their editor wants, which is, controversy. So they're not going to sit there talking about how great Amorim is after a couple of months. They've got to start the other side of the story, and that's what will happen. Hope you well, says Luca. Praying for a good result tomorrow. Binder to start. I'll be surprised if he doesn't, Luca. I really would. Might be an irrelevant question, says Shahin, but if we don't have any debt, would we be able to spend without selling homegrown players? No, I mean the debt is a massive problem for Manchester United, but even if you're debt free, look at Newcastle. You still struggle to buy players because of FFP. And we don't have a lot of wiggle room because we bought so much shit and paid it too much money that our expenditure almost matches our revenue. So we need to increase the revenue. I mean, it's a shame we're bloody not going to that Club World Cup in the summer because that's 50 million quid revenue straight in the pocket of Chelsea and Man City. But this is why it's really important that we qualify for that we win the Europa League, because we need, winning trophies and qualifying for Europe is a guaranteed, it's like a new signing. People say, let's sell Garnacho for 50 million. Let's qualify for the Champions League and there's 60, 70, 80 million dropping in. Pure profit. That's the signing we should be making, winning the fucking Europa League, because that's 80 million pure profit going into the football club. Amorim is the Portuguese Graham Potter. I miss Ten Hag, says 7-inch. And hi, Mark. Hope you're well. Praying for a good result tomorrow. Thank you very much for that. Just having a quick check here because somebody said there might be some news coming in. Let me have a quick look. I'm early tonight because I'm on That's Football with the Champions League watch along. Hopefully PSG are going to beat Man City. Potentially put them nearly getting knocked out. That would make me very happy. But let me have a look. Ethan Wheatley might be heading off to a Dutch second division team. And Ollie won his first game in charge. Okay. More cuts and sales if we don't get Europe, says Gareth. FFP is weird. City more this. Literally bloke the rules, yet no more major changes, says Philip. I don't know. You don't even know who I'd like to start tomorrow after that terrible performance, says Drees. No person in their right mind would want Rashford anyone near our team, says Moggins. That toxic person should stay the hell away. I'm sick of the Glazers and Ineos, says Susan Cole. And thoughts on Ollie's win against Bilbao, says Grey Wolf. I'm very happy for him. I hope he can build a career. I'm sure we've got some absolute Zooms out there who say we never should have got rid of Ollie. I mean, I love the revisionism. I love it. I mean, yesterday people were saying we should have kept Ten Hag till the end of the season. It was never going to happen. The position was untenable. It was toxic. And there was never... What people forget about Ollie is the last few weeks. You can't rewrite history. The last few weeks got him the sack. He got battered all over the place and the players down tools at half-time against Watford. So all this, we shouldn't have sacked Ollie. Can we go back to why he got the sack? Because we definitely should have sacked him. And everybody agreed with it at the time. I hope he can do well. If Ten Hag goes to Dortmund, I hope he can do well. I don't think any of our previous managers weren't trying their best. I just think they were either not good enough or they weren't supported well enough. But we've got to move on, and I hope they can move on. I read it. He had it at Sporting and needed it here, says Umzi, about therapy. Okay. Marvin says hopefully he takes Rashford with him. No, it's not a bad idea. I don't think Rashford would do it. Yeah. Scott says toxic. Isn't this situation toxic? This is a new manager who's had 2 months, who's had no players, who has inherited that toxic situation. This is the same as what happened to Rangnick, where you're judging a manager on a shit show that was left for him that he's not had any input on yet. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer spent a lot of money and the situation ended up toxic. You can't really compare Amorim to Solskjaer, if that's what you're trying to do. Adeyemi news to Napoli says, Usman, yeah, we did speak about it at the start of the show. So, yeah, Napoli been linked to him. But as I said, I think it's mind games. I think it's all mind games. I think... yeah, I think it's all mind games. I think it's mind games getting Chelsea involved from our side, and I think it's mind games from them getting Adeyemi and Napoli involved. I think this is just all about the price that Napoli are going to play. I guess we will have to wait and see. Okay, right. I'm running out of energy today. I think I'm going to have to do a stand-up watch along. I really am. Didn't we bid for Garnacho? What happened to that, says Cairo. Good point. Nothing. Yeah, we haven't. I mean, look, we can get linked to who you want, but we haven't got any money. And that's why they're selling Garnacho. We're not buying anyone until we get some money in. And the only player that anybody wants is Garnacho. So that's what we're doing. May as well be Everton. Any news around Casemiro, Mark, says 7-inch. Mate, great point. We could spend 20 minutes talking about this. Why is Casemiro earning 350k a week to sit and tweet every time there's a match day? I mean, I've seen him walking down the side of the pitch after the game against Brighton, and people are cheering him, shouting 3 Champions Leagues, except 4 Champions Leagues, and you just think, the guy's a waste of space. He's an absolute waste of space. When does his professional pride kick in? Where's your agent? Why, why have you not got a move in January? Why are you happy to sit? Well, I can think of 350,000 reasons why he's happy to sit there, but come on. Come on. It's we should be talking about Casemiro more. I think he gets away with a lot compared to Rashford. Like, Casemiro has been pretty shit for 12 months, and he's sat there doing nothing on 350k a week. You know, at least Rashford's got his agents going around Europe. What's Casemiro doing? Just happy there to bleed the club. And look, we gave him the contract. I agree with that. But it goes back to what Henry Winter said. These players don't prioritise playing football over the wage that's been given. That's why you shouldn't give them big wages. Shane B says, sorry for this being irrelevant to United, but your triple-decker cooking with Goldbridge came up earlier. When was the last time you had one, says Shane. I haven't had one in bloody ages, but I would like one, Shane. I forgot I even did that video. Those were the days. Calvin says, I'm not Player FC, I'm Talent FC. We cannot sell Garnacho. If we are to fund players that suit Amorim's system, they better back him fully, because if we sack him and go back to 4-2-3-1, we'll miss Garnacho even more, says Calvin. Thank you very much for that. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm back in a few minutes on That's Football, continuing the chat. Thanks everyone for this evening. Obviously, if anything happens later, we'll go live, but match day tomorrow as well. I'll see you on That's Football in a few minutes. Take care, legends. Great show again. Fantastic points. Good conversation. Love it. Take care.